Hi guys, how's it going? This is my tutorial for the Into Your Eyes remix competition. I want to show you how you build a bass line. I call it screaming reverb. Basically the idea is that you have a signal that is played, and when the signal stops, its own reverb kicks in, so it sounds a bit like this. So basically you have the signal, and when it stops, the reverb kicks in. So I want to show you how you build that. I created a new MIDI track over here. I put in a operator. This operator is at standard setting, which is a sine wave. You have 4 oscillators in this operator. For this synth I aligned them like this, so you have the ABC oscillator, which are oscillate separately and are then mixed together, and you have the orange oscillator D, which influences in terms of a FM synthesis the oscillator C. So we put all the levels up like that. We change them all to a saw wave, which makes that, as you may know, that dirty sound like that. Let's go an octave down. Now what you can do is you can fine-tune the synth or the oscillators, which will then lead to a modulation of the waveform, which makes it much more interesting to sound to, because they have a a slight change in the frequency, and that makes it much more interesting to listen to. For the oscillator D, also use a saw wave, and remember this oscillator, as is said here, will influence the oscillator C, so you can have a listen to that while I put the level up. Makes it much more screaming. What I'm also going to do is I put the spread up. The spread divides the signal into a left and right, and thus makes it more wider. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Now what I usually do with my synth or with my basses is that I put them into an instrument track. You can do that by Command G to group the instruments together, and I put after the operator, which gives me the high end of the synth, I'll put a EQ8 after it and put that into a high pass filter. I put in a second chain, and there are another operator which is just put on a sine wave. Sine waves are very good for basses, and I put in a low pass filter here, so you can have on this chain, only the sub, and on this chain you have the high end, so you always have a clean sub. So whatever effect you're gonna put over this chain here doesn't really matter, your sub always stays clean and good, and this is what you want for a good bass line. So anyway, I'll leave it here for this instrument. You could do more effects, other stuff, but let's get to the fun part, and that is the reverb part. Now for this we put in a other EQ8 like that. We group it, Command G, and we have here a chain that we call clean, because this will be just a clean signal. We're not gonna affect that anymore. This means that if we play, a clean signal just runs through here. Over here I have a second chain which I call reverb, and this chain is just reverb. So we put the dry signal up to 100%. Dry wet means how much of the normal signal gets passed through and how much of the signal is affected by the reverb. We want everything to be affected by the reverb because we already have a clean chain. We put in an input processing a low cut filter because we don't want to reverb the sub, we just want to reverb the high end. Put up the decay time. so that you get a massive wide reverb. I'm quite happy with that, and now here comes the interesting part. After that reverb we put a compressor. Now compressor in Ableton, as other effects, have a sidechaining function. Now sidechaining function means that it tells the compressor when it should compress the signal, and you can say get the inputs from, I don't know, usually it's the kick, for example, so you want to get the signal out of the way when the kick hits in, and then the signal comes back when the kick is gone. Now what we are going to do here is we're gonna sidechain it by its own signal. So let's take the instrument here and use the post mixer operator, which is the I could name that high and this one sub, just for house cleaning purposes. So we have the high post mixer signal that will compress our reverb. Now we put the threshold down, as you might already know that from other sidechaining tutorials. And now you see the reverb gets compressed while the signal is playing, and as soon as the signal stops, the reverb kicks in. Now obviously you can change or play around with the times here, so if you put the release up, it takes longer for the reverb to kick in. If you put the release down, the reverb immediately is here. So let's put the reverb, I don't know, about 90, the attack about 2 milliseconds. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe the release a bit down. The decay time is quite long here. We'll put that one down a bit. So it gives that sucking effect that when the signal stops, you know, it comes back at you. I think it's quite a nice effect. You could play around a bit more with the different parameters here, but I think you get the general idea. Now you can use this reverb compressor combination for any kind of synth that you like, where you have a melody which has breaks in it, and you can have this sucking reverb effect that it plays back the reverb. And I think this is quite a nice thing to do. So anyway, cheers for watching and have a nice day.